So I haven't heard anything from anybody yet. As far as the other meeting. So I just sent out a new meeting invite link and we're going to wait and see if anybody joins up. Recording. There we go. All right. So I have no idea what happened, why this is going on. But I thought I'd at least try and get things moving along. Oh,
hey,
I
Mark.
need to forward that. Hey. All right. Let's see. No. Steve Wooten. Hello. Hopefully he'll get that. All right, and let's. So I appreciate you all checking your email and picking up the updated meeting link. Can you hear us, Michael? I know one of the people that was looking to join us was Steve Wooten tonight from the Aries group in St. Louis. And I think he's wanting to learn a little bit more about some of this. So I've been doing a little bit more with some of the maps. So this is kind of the latest view of everything with, let me get my camera out of the way there. Well, that's interesting because that shouldn't be there. Huh. All right, there, that's better. I don't know what was going on. Using a streaming setup that I've got just to be able to show you this stuff. So what we have here is a list of the connections just between our hams and the routers. And so if you take a look at some of these icons, anything that's a triangle like this is going to be a router or a repeater router. It's a router, but it's one of the repeaters. And then hospitals are this, plus symbol. And then we've got a couple of EOCs that are in the mix that just look like EOC, a red building here. And then I've got a couple of people here that I can't seem to find any way to get an RF link to them right now. And they've got just a box that says TCP/IP. So if you remember, we have the ability to, if I can get it to take the keystroke here, we can basically take a look from any particular point to any other point and look at the terrain, look at the signal strength, stuff like that. Anybody have any questions or anything before we get into much else?
Hey, Mark, what program is that?
Radio Mobile. It's a free program, but it's a pain in the butt to set up because in order to do all this, you have to have, let's see. have to set up your elevation data, and that's a huge download. That's like, I want to say 20 gigs or something like that. And then there's also these are all the different places things pop up. If I were to go here, this will let me choose some of the components it's going to use. And I have to specify pretty much a latitude, longitude, and then my image size, and then how large an area that's supposed to be. And that calculates the four corners of the image. And that's pretty much how I generated all these. So the nice thing is, if I put all those links back up, and it takes a minute to draw them, I can then, with the stuff that shows up, look at different viewpoints. So like St. Clair County, Illinois, Madison County, Illinois, St. Louis County. That's interesting that that one shows the mesh and the others don't. Franklin Gasconade. Wow. So let's redraw all these, because like I said, this does take a minute. The other thing I can do too is I have, oops, I think I have one of those open already. So I have that kind of drawn. This is kind of what our proposed backbone looks like. And what we can do here is, I think we're probably going to look at WB0 HSI out in St. Charles County, because the ECA repeater has some paying customers on it. The EOC's antenna tower that we can use is 80 feet, and that really doesn't give us good coverage. KO0A doesn't get much in the western part of the county. St. Louis area, pretty much we've got the 9.1 repeater at the Edward Jones site and the 8.5 repeater at Olive. This is going to be our main site. That's the first one we're going to put anything in. We've got the people over in Illinois, K9GXU, which is a 12-meter water tower, and then KD0ZEA, which is one of the sites that I think Jim is working on. They've got a bunch of stuff already kind of meshed out and connected, and they're looking at putting some of these out. So not just, setting up and testing. So I went through, and some of these other sites that are here are the call signs that I found browsing the mesh. And so with that, this is what we expect this to look like. And again, this is just looking at backbone sites, because they've got a repeater. They've got Fidelity Communication that has 3 towers that they're going to use. Franklin County Sheriff ECA tower is one they'll use, and then KD0ZEA. And that's our only really link back and forth. If I pull up all of the hams, there we go, St. Louis County ham only. All right, so that's a little awkward. If we look at St. Louis County, so that's K00A repeater. Here's W0SRC and the EJ site. Almost everybody in St. Louis City and County has good line of sight to the 8.5 repeater, except for Art. And K-Booty, you're questionable as far as which one really is going to be best, but it looks like here you should be okay. We've got the 2 people that I said I don't have any VPN link for at the Southwest. They can't hit it at all. Steve Wooten is one of the new guys that I'm talking to because of the Aries and Harn, and looking at trying to get him connected. And it looks like if we can get him up to 10 meters above ground, he'll be able to connect. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Mark, good evening.
Sorry about the mess with the meeting. I don't know what was going on with that. But I figured it was best just to get things going. So
Hey,
We're just-
Mark, I
Yeah.
might be able to get my access points up to about 9 meters
Okay.
above. Hopefully that helps get to that 85 repeater site.
We can check it real quick. So if we do, all right. This is an older program. It's not exactly as intuitive as we would like. So I can't just type and have it search.
And you were talking about putting the first nodes at 85 or 91.
8.5.
Oh, okay.
So you would have to get up to almost 12 meters to really get a strong signal.
Mm,
That'll get you 30 dB. 11 and a half will get you 17. 13 is going to be questionable at 11 meters. And if you're only at 10, you're only getting 7 dB, which you're going to see a lot of fade. So weather and stuff like that will hit you pretty hard.
the only way I can get higher is to yank those up in a tree, which I might be able to do.
Yep. And
Instead
so
of
that'd
on
be
a-
12 meters. So that's about 38, 39 feet.
I can do that.
Okay. So you'd have a fair chance at doing that.
Yeah.
What I've been talking about with Zach is at the 8.5 for Peter. Our field day site is basically right about in here. So I'm hoping that sometime before field day, we'll get a 90-degree sector antenna up there, which will hit north and west so that we can demo at field day. That doesn't quite cover you, Art. And we're having a discussion at the next board meeting about trying to procure 2 more radios and antennas to be able to cover the remainder of the 360 here. So if we can do that, we have some antenna mount poles that we could attach and hopefully get that working. So I don't know exactly when we'll get the rest of the directions going at this point, because that all depends on the board approving the expense, being able to get it ordered, get it in, get it built, and then go hang it all.
Yeah,
The good
right.
news is the cable path is there, so we just have to physically get up to the ceiling, which is probably, what would you say, Zach, about 15 feet above floor level, and feed it through where the rest of it's already kind of routed for the 8.5 repeater, and then get that over to that same cutout that goes through to the roof, and then we can get a ladder somehow up there, and that's something we got to talk to the site about to figure out exactly how kosher they are with us bringing ladders up and getting that done. But then we can get that physically mounted on the pole, and we don't have to be terribly precise. We just need to make sure that we're aimed. If we end up the 120-degree sector antenna, if we've got these angles, where my fingers are is where I believe it's 3 dB down from peak power. So if we're not aimed exactly, we might be 4.5 dB down as opposed to, and there's Jim, I'm letting him in. At that point, that would give us some overlap, even if it's a slightly weaker signal there, but we still will have 360 degrees of coverage by doing that. So that's our first step that we're hoping to do, so we can kind of demo some stuff at field day. What I was just telling people, Jim, is we're probably going to, as our first step, get the one M5 with a sector antenna, which is only a 90-degree sector antenna, and we'll basically from here go straight north to straight west, because our field day site is right here. So that'll let us get that started, and that's the only one we've got right now. We're going to have a board meeting, I think it's next Monday, so about a week from now, and we're going to talk about trying to order 2 more of the Rocket M5s and 3 of the 120-degree sector antennas. So that's where we are today. So I've got a couple of new images. Let's go down to the Franklin County image.
And while you're doing that, I just want to apologize to everybody. I let time get away, and all of a sudden I looked up and it's like, oh crap, it's 7 o'clock. I'm expecting 7 o'clock to still be a little bit darker outside, but
And
so
they're done
I
now.
just want to apologize.
I just figured I'd go ahead and get it started. I am recording, so the recording may not be the best, but at this point we've got at least something we can share. So with the stuff that you gave me, Jim, I also have been browsing the mesh, looking at the locations on everything that's currently on it. And so I've enhanced this a little bit. So up here, we've got KC900H, N0MFD that are in Washington area. The only line of sight they'll have is basically to Mercy, Washington. KF0CQN is kind of the same thing. Terrain's blocking them from other directions. And then Jim is up here, and he's got a neighbor KD0QQU that actually has coverage to him, but not to Mercy, Washington. So
Yes. Yeah, QQU is actually the Franklin County Aries digital ops node, and it's running here in my house. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, based on the coordinates that it had listed, it didn't have line of sight, but I knew you did, and the coordinates it listed and you were good. So
yeah.
I believe the WA0FYA is at the zero beater site from looking at the coordinates.
That is correct. That will be on their tower.
All right. So I've got this kind of dual listed right now, but similar concept there. W0FLA has good connectivity to get to either the KC0DBS repeater, Fidelity Sullivan, or the KD0ZEA repeater site, as well as zero beaters. So they're in a pretty good spot as far as connectivity. Doesn't necessarily get them some of the other places terribly well, but with the 3-point Fidelity site, that's a nice little backbone over in this area. And so I'm not including hospitals in this diagram. So this is all the links that we're going to be able to do without bringing a hospital into things. So now if I add Mercy, Washington, you can see that we've got good connectivity for pretty much everybody else that didn't have it without it. So that's the only path that kind of this upper part of, I think this is Franklin County, is going to have to be able to get in, but everything else still has the same good connectivity. Any questions or anything else you want to add on that, Jim?
I mean, this is great. Right now we've met with all three clubs in the Aries groups, as well as the Franklin County EMA director and the City of Washington EMA director, and they're on board with this. As a matter of fact, the Mercy the MOBAP hospital in Sullivan is on board. Right before we did our countywide emergency communications exercise, they had a lightning strike that took out their radios and all kind of infrastructure at the hospital.
Wow.
And while we were doing that weekend after we were doing our exercise and with the and using the Harn radios and whatnot, the administrator of the hospital was all on board and said, I want to do this. And the Mercy Hospital seems to be on board with it as well. We've kind of assembled 18 Rocket M5s. We've got 6 120-degree sector antennas, 3 rocket dishes, and we're going to be putting 3 sector antennas up at the zero beaters repeater site, and probably will be one of the rocket dishes. Rocket dishes, we're going to kind of deploy those a little bit later, depending on where we kind of need them, and we're going to put 3 sector antennas at the up at the ZEA repeater site, and we're going to take 3 of the Rocket M5s for the Sullivan repeater site. They've got to come up with the sector antennas. We're going to give them the Rocket M5s to do that, and we're hoping right now, the EMA director for Franklin County, he's also a ham, so that kind of helps. And he also owns the repeater site at the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. And right now he's potentially open to be putting some antennas up there. Problem is that antenna's that bit in a hole. The good thing is it's an extremely tall antenna. But you know, that there is some challenges as we move north towards Washington. Mercy seems to be open, but the city of Washington owns has antennas up on top of the blue water tower that sits at Highway 147, which has really good line of sight for the city of Washington. And the EMA director for the city of Washington seems to think he can get us up on top of that water tower. And if that's the case, that could really maybe even bridge the gap there a little bit. But
Absolutely, that'd make a huge difference.
Yeah, so we're kind of excited about all this. We're going to start. You know, we've got the equipment, we've got the outdoor Cat 5 in the terminals to do all this, and we've got some ubiquity tough switches, for the repeater sites. You kind of get this going. So now we're at the point now we got to just start scheduling and deploying, and it's going to be a little bit trial error. You know, like some of the email exchanges, Mark, you and I were going back and forth. What I'm trying to figure out is, okay, what can we do without the rocket dishes, right? I mean, we've got 3 of them right now. We can get more if we need to. I'm hoping that maybe some of these repeater sites, that maybe the sectors, even though those are point to multi-point to point type of thing, is that maybe some of the sectors can bridge some of the gap between some of the sites, maybe. I mean, that may be a pipe dream, but
that's where this has been a struggle getting up to Mercy. But if you guys can get up on the water tower, that should make the height difference to hopefully solve that problem. And then we don't need dishes at Mercy. Instead, they would use a sector to get to the water tower to bridge that gap as well. That could make a huge difference. And with some of what I've noticed on, let me get out to what I'll call the mega mesh. The link over here from Mercy up to St. Charles County doesn't typically work because of this bluff here, but that's because it's looking at, I'll say, building height. But water tower somewhere around in here may do a lot better getting over here somewhere. Once we know where, I'll have to double check that and see.
There is a elevator shaft on top of the Mercy complex, and on top of that elevator shaft is an antenna. Now, whether that antenna is strong enough to host, a dish, I don't know. We'll have to see. Because right now the only point we got is the ZEA repeater, and I do get a little bit nervous. Is we got to do a bit more work there to make sure that tower can handle that size dish, right? And particularly we have to put multiple dishes on it.
So let me flip over here. I've got Google Earth coming up. I believe this is where you're talking right here, correct? So that is definitely a much higher point. That's 107. Yeah, I don't think this is, this is not 3D. So I can't even begin to guesstimate that height, other than that's what, maybe 15 feet above the top story, which would be,
it may be even taller than that. I think it's taller than that.
At least 7 stories plus then that height above that. So, I mean, that's huge. And where we were originally looking at as an antenna point would be here.
Right.
Just because, again, that was kind of that direction side of the building to minimize radiation throw into the site. Now,
obviously, we're still a long ways away of, with Mercy. They're showing promise, and obviously, and then as with any of these hospitals, specific locations, right, are always a challenge with them on top of those roofs. So
Yep. Where's that water tower at?
if you come down to 147, so keep coming, it's kind of, zoom in, it's go back towards the hospital. No, zoom in right about there. You can, if you move your cursor north a little bit,
Oh, there.
right there.
Yeah, that's really hard to tell how high that really would be.
Well, if it's pretty high, and if
Oh,
you,
I believe it. Just with the flat, it's hard to estimate it here.
Oh, got it. And but from the Borgia High School, you can see that water tower, and Borgia is off to the east. I mean, excuse me, to the west. Sorry. And there you go. You can see the football field. All right, that's Washington High School, right? That's Washington High School. So Borgia is further west.
This one? Oh, yeah.
That
Okay.
one, yeah. And,
So really quickly, I'll just, because I know that this works for me up here. Sorry. If I get up here to the ECA tower, we actually have 3D. So I can actually go here, and at the bottom right here, the elevation, this is about 187. The top of that's 241 in meters. So that's where I can guesstimate if we've got good imagery, and clearly we don't of Washington.
right. Yeah.
So sometimes Google Earth is worth some things, but sometimes not.
Well, the good thing is that blue water tower is where the city of Washington has its citywide sector antennas for whatever it is that they're doing on top of it as well. So that water tower is sitting on a ridge. So the hospital is actually at a lower point than that water tower from the ground level standpoint.
All right, that was 188 meters, and the ground level here is 170. So that's 20 meters. It's a good 60 feet. And then, the height difference of that water tower is probably sufficient to, again, drive water pressure up here to the top of that building. But if it's anything like the one we've got here, that's probably at least 30 meters, maybe 40.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Some of the ones up in St. Charles County are between 40 and 50. So, and this is going to end in 10 minutes. And when it does, I'll just restart it. So. Cool. So you guys have been doing a lot of work, and that sounds really good. I mean, that's a lot of conversations, and it's not something that happens immediate. So you guys have done really well at trying to get built out down here.
Yeah, we've got the excitement. Now we got to take that first step, right?
Yep.
and start getting it, put up.
So I'll show you really quick what I was originally proposing was this W0 ECA repeater site on the top of this water tower, but apparently Whisper is running there, and they do some transmits, and they're a paying customer. So I'm not sure we'll be able to get up there, and they've been doing stuff that interferes with others. Google Earth does not show the county police department, which is right up here. So that's built here. They've got 180 foot tower here, but I doubt we'll be able to use it. This one is 300 feet. I'm pretty certain we won't be able to use it. But on the back side here, we have at this point an 80-foot tower that we can use, that pretty much the ECA has good control over, but it's only 80 feet. So that really doesn't buy us a lot of coverage. So we're trying to figure that out. And one of the guys actually built out the WB0 HSI repeater at the top of this water tower, and we can get almost everything but Zach from this water tower in St. Charles County. But the good news is, if I take a look here, where this is Zach up here, he does have line of sight to the 8.5 repeater, so he could still get into the mesh, and whatever path we take out to St. Charles County, he'll still be able to participate in. It's just 1 or 2 more hops. Now, if we get on the St. Joseph, St. Charles hospital, he has line of sight to their facility. So that would work if we can get up on that.
Yeah, but that doesn't take in consideration individual hams putting, you know, a rocket and a omnidirectional antenna up and then meshing together, right?
Well, that's what all of these points here are, is
got it.
individual hams. But because we don't have the height, we don't have a lot of coverage because of the terrain out here in St. Charles County. And West County is the same sort of thing. So these guys down here don't necessarily have lots of coverage around them, but KE0FCG, which is Brendan, the president of SLSRC, and WB0IIS, George Schindler, they both have good connectivity to the 8.5 and to the 9.1 repeaters, which are the main sites that we as SLSRC intend to set up. So as you can see, this is a really busy thing. I went through, and every hospital that I could locate by browsing Google Earth, and places that I just knew where they were, we can get, as you can see, a ton of mesh, even all the way over into Illinois. These are East St. Louis, east side of East St. Louis, 2 of them in Belleville, and then 1 over in O'Fallon, Anderson Hospital up in Troy, 2 of them, Alton Memorial Hospital and St. Anthony's up there. That's the only path that we have to get to KD9DD is from St. Anthony's up in Alton. And as you can see, we've got a questionable link to get back over to St. Charles County. So we've got lots of stuff. A great site is the VA building, if we can get them to put something up. Because with the VA building, it's the tallest one of the hospitals anywhere. It's some 40 some meters up in the air. So that's a good 130 feet above ground. And they can even get all the way over to Anderson, up to Alton. They can get over here. They can get all these down in kind of the mess. If we can get St. Clair a node, they can connect to both of the SLSRC sites, and that would get KF0CAN a connection. Most of the rest of these are okay. KF0CTR looks like he's going to be able to get to the 9.1. This seems a little questionable on here just because some of these are such strong connections. They show now the bright green and shove some of these links to darker, indicating that they're not quite as good. Obviously, you know, HSI, we've got a couple of not as fast links, but if we get other places to mesh, like BJC Progress West, which is pretty close to me, you know, that's a good strong link, and they can see a lot of parts of St. Charles County. It's questionable if BJC Progress West and KD0ZEA might be able to get a link via sector. If they do, it's not going to be a terribly fast one, but it's another route. And if you guys get the water tower over here in Washington, maybe that'll work as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities at extending additional connections down to you if we can get that worked out. And that might be a case that if you guys can put a dish up on top of the water tower in Washington, that would certainly hit one of these with enough additional signal that would work.
Yeah, that's, you know, I was actually about to ask that question. I wonder what it would look like with a dish between the tower and Progress West, because that may give another reliable backbone option out of Franklin County in addition
Many
to
windows.
the ZEA site.
All right, now I'm finally at the right app. So I'm just gonna assume BJC Washington or Mercy Washington, there it is. And let's look at BJC Progress West. There's a reason I alphabetize these things. That is problematic, but if we can go up, we've got 20 meters to get to the bottom of the water tower, and let's say it's 30 meters. So that's 50 more meters. So that's 75. That's still not enough, but what would it take? I mean, we're fighting terrain there.
Yeah.
And there's a minimal link, reliable. So 114, that is 90 meters above where I was looking at in downtown Washington. Again, we were looking at the top of that basically first floor.
Oh, of the hospital.
Yes.
So we got to
So-
figure out what the water tower really is.
Right. And if that's a 50-meter water tower, we're still 20 meters short.
Got it.
And I don't imagine it's gonna be much bigger than 50 meters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 150
right.
feet
Yeah.
above the, 60-foot climb up from the hospital.
Right.
So I'm not sure how well that one will work.
Yeah, it may not be. Oh, well,
But I mean,
I'm still in search
see
of
what
a
happens.
second backbone option out of Franklin County, right? Somewhere.
yep, that's why I've got this diagram. I mean, as you can see, I mean, we've just got tons and tons of hospital link options all the way around here. And I've even found one down here that if we could find a couple of points along this highway, we could extend. I don't think there's great coverage here, but let's take a quick look at that one. That's the window. All right, if we do KD0ZA, and we go look at Jefferson County one, which one was that? There it is, it's a Mercy. There's just a lot of scrub down close to them that we're just not gonna, oh, and I mean, you'd have to go really high to do that, and they don't have a tower there. So, I mean,